normally we don't start the show this earlier with such a bang.
No.
Bang. This dude's been opening up the checkbook and saying, hey, we're winning a Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
What do we need? Oh, we need a pass rusher. Who are we going to get? Fucking Von Miller. Woo. Let's sign him to a 10-year, $700 million deal to bring him into our program. OJ hired out of Tampa Bay. How you doing? You're a part of our program now. Ladies and gentlemen, a man who has built a culture of success in Western New York, GM of the Buffalo Bills, ladies and gentlemen, Brandon Beane.
Yeah!
What's up, dude?
Appreciate you having me on. That's a pretty good intro.
Hey, well, you deserve it. I love the fact that you are going all in because you have a team, you have a quarterback, and last year if the overtime rules were a little bit better, you're probably going on a run already. Brandon Beane, hell of an offseason, sir.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. I appreciate it. Hopefully it'll pay off this fall. We'll see.
Okay, so let's talk about it. Whenever you stare down an offseason, we had Tom Telesco on last week, and he chatted about some of the moves, Khalil Mack, J.C. Jackson, everything like that. When you go into the offseason, obviously you're heartbroken because of how it ended, but you guys were in it. When you guys had to make plays, you made plays. Kansas City did the same. In the AFC, I mean, you're calling for realignment. It's going to be a fucking monster for the next 10 years. But whenever you look at your team, did you say, hey, we need a pass rusher, we need this? How do you kind of shape it, and what are you still looking for, you think?
Yeah, I mean, you got to have a quarterback, which we like the guy that that's under center for us. But the other thing you got to do, Pat, is you got to get the other guys, quarterback down. And we just our pass rush was good last year, but from a consistent standpoint against some of the more elusive guys, and we talked about Mahomes at the end, just a closer, and to have a chance to get a guy like Von Miller. You never know when you're going into free agency where guys are going to go and where their markets are going to be. And some guys don't even get there. They just re-sign with their own club. But as we were a couple of days in, his agent reached back out to us to see where we were and said it's going to start heating up. If you want in, jump in. And so that's kind of how it got started. And started in the morning, and by the end of the day, Vaughn had agreed to be a Buffalo Bill, and we're pretty excited.
Whenever you see, and by the way, congrats on landing Vaughn.
Yeah.
But whenever you see what the number was going to take, is there a little bit of oh shit, or is it anything to make our team better? Let's go ahead and do it, because it feels like there's fairy tale numbers being released for everybody's contract, and we've actually, I think, been a part of making people report contracts for what they actually are, as opposed to the entire thing. Pretty proud of us for that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Pretty proud of us for that, actually. But the overall number was 6 years, $120 million. Then when you peel it back, it's like a 3-year deal or whatever. Did you expect the number to be what it was for Von Miller, or did that kind of catch you off guard? And was there any number that was going to maybe make you say, nah, we can't do that?
Yeah, I mean, listen, we knew it was going to be up there. I mean, when you watch the tape, Pat, down the stretch, I mean, he had 4 sacks in the playoffs for the Rams and was a big part of them holding that trophy up. And that's what we want. Not only the success he's going to bring, himself, his skills, but also we've got some young guys on the D-line. And I just think his presence out there and what he can do behind the scenes, helping teach some of these guys to, he's already done some things around the league with some of his rush schools that he's done, and I think he's going to be great from that standpoint. You knew to pay for pass rushers. I mean, these top guys now, TJ Watt, I think, got a $28 million a year. The ultimate deal here, it's 17.5 is the real money, and you talked about it's really what is the money per year on the real money, the guarantee, and that's where we had to get comfortable with. And again, he's up there, but he's a genetic freak. He's a guy that you feel like you've seen pass rushers in the past be able to play into their 30s, and we feel like that Vaughn still got enough left to really help us get over the top.
That closer thing is such a big deal. I was very lucky to play alongside Robert Mathis and Dwight Freeney, and if it was fourth quarter and it was fourth down, they needed to play. There was about a 99% chance that Robert Mathis or Freeney is going to get to the quarterback. Like, this is what they are here for. They want this moment. Von Miller, in the second half of that Super Bowl, I think they had, 6 sacks? Vaughn had 3 of them or whatever. It's like, let's go get this game over with. Is that what you're telling them, though? Whenever you're signing them, hey, this is what we need. We need a leader. We need a closer. We need a guy that wants to go in there. How those conversations go, and what are your initial thoughts of Von Miller, the human, now that you got to meet him a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly, Freeney and Mathis were perfect for having Peyton Manning. I mean, you guys in those teams, you built leads, and then you let those guys pin their ears back. And I thought it was a well-built team by Bill Polian. and it's a recipe for success. And we're hoping with Josh Allen that we're going to build some leads, and then we got to close it, and we got to get the other guy's quarterback off the field. And Vaughn came in here. We agreed Wednesday. He came in here Thursday, and really took his time. He was very thoughtful with the process. Went through the whole building, met our whole staff, and ultimately it was hard on him. He was very loyal to Denver for his whole career. He didn't have a choice. He's traded to the Rams, and then he kind of built his own brand there in such a short time, and relationships with the head coach, Aaron Donald, multiple other players on that team. So he's definitely a loyal, trustworthy guy, and I think as excited as he was to come here and help us, try to get over the top here in Buffalo, I definitely think it weighed on him leaving his teammates, especially knowing they had just won a Super Bowl. But he's been great, and looking forward to getting to meet him even more when we get him back next month for off-season program.
Josh Allen's young. Obviously, Josh Allen's young, but he is a very pivotal part of your entire operation. I remember a couple years ago, before Josh Allen had become the Josh Allen that we've now seen over the last couple years, his first couple years still developing, still becoming the NFL quarterback, Cam Newton was available. And we had you on the show, and we're like, hey, did you ever think about bringing in Cam Newton? You actually said, no. We want Josh to know that we are building 100% around Josh Allen. We believe in Josh. Hey, that has paid dividends, by the way, with how great he has become. You empowered him. Do you ask him about signings or what he's thinking going into? Like O.J. Howard, you guys brought in, incredibly talented tight end. Do you guys have those conversations with him? Is he too young? Does he not want to be a part of that? How do you balance that entire thing of like respecting his opinion, but also not putting too much on him at this young stage of his career?
Yeah, I mean, Josh is great. We have conversations more on offensive players than anything, but how he views certain guys, not only as players but in the locker room. What's their leadership level? What are things that maybe I don't see from my seat that a player brings intangibly? I can watch the film or see what he does on game day, but have a lot of discussions with Josh. We probably talk sometimes 3 times a day, but we talk every week. He'll FaceTime me from the golf course, and he was. I know he was recruiting Von Miller from the golf course last week. Steph Diggs did a great job, and some others. I think Bruce Smith even reached out to him to talk about this fan base and what it was like when he played and where it's at now and how bad this fan base wants a winner. And so it was a lot of people, but Josh is very involved. I talk to him all the time. I gave him a heads up that we're going to trade for Case Keenum, and we're signing Matt Barkley today, who he and Matt are very close friends. So we talk, and again, Josh is cool. He understands sometimes he may mention a player, and I say for whatever reason we can't do it, but I think he respects that we kind of can shoot the shit and go back and forth, and this is kind of what we're thinking. Is there any issues that you've heard about this player if it's somebody we're acquiring from another team?
Do you think that's because you're young, or do you think it's just how you would operate? Because it makes sense to me that you would want your quarterback, especially somebody that you've invested in for a long time, like, hey, I want to hear your thoughts on this entire thing. But some places we've learned publicly that it isn't like that. Is that just kind of how you always saw yourself to be a GM, or is it because of how much you respect Josh as a human and player?
I think it depends on who the quarterback is, and it's something that you would want. But are you talking to somebody who you can have private conversations with, trustworthy conversations, whether it's guys in the locker room, guys on another team? And I think Josh has earned that. And Josh and I talked about it a lot last year. I called him when we were getting ready to sign Mitchell Trubisky, and just said, hey, this is, this is not to compete. Mitch is looking for a reset. He's going to come in here and be a great teammate. But I wanted him to know that before we, make sure there was nothing I was unaware of between their relationship, because I didn't even know if they knew each other or not. And,
smart.
But we talked about that, and when we got Josh done last year, that was one of the conversations. Said, Josh, when we get you done to this long-term deal, you're going to be a part of it, as you've already been, and you're going to continue to be. And so I don't really ever want to try to catch him off guard. I try to give him as much heads up. Some things happen fast, but especially if it's somebody on offense or an offensive coach.
Yeah, you guys got like the prototype of quarterback right now, is what everybody's saying. 6'6", fast, can throw the ball. He seems like an incredibly cool guy. He's locked in long term. That's why off the record, act like nobody's listening. Nobody, just between us. You send Josh Allen to the Colts, we'll give you whatever you want. We doing that?
I would trade myself before I trade Josh.
I don't know if Ballard's going to agree to that. Let's talk about it. You're going into the draft now. So how do you balance the free agency process? I assume you're not done. Maybe you're done. You free agency is always evolving and everything like that. And then the draft is coming. How do you balance all that? And what do you think your team still needs? What do you think will take you guys over the hump? Now, granted, maybe new overtime rules, but what do you think does take your team to the next level? Because I think we all see it. Like, your team is exciting to watch. Seems like you got a bunch of dogs. They're underappreciated, 0 Pro Bowlers on the defensive side. Every time we talk to anybody in your building, they love each other. It feels like everybody in there loves each other. You are a team that not only Bills Mafia is pulling for, but I think everybody is, because of how you guys have done this, patiently building up your culture. What's the next step? What do you think you guys need, especially with Dave's gone now? How do you make the next step, you think?
Yeah, I mean, we got to get over that hump. You know, the Kansas City Chiefs is a team that the last 2 playoffs have knocked us out. You know, we beat them in the regular season, but there's some teams in the AFC West that are coming for them as well. So we got to win our division. It starts there. You know, we got to knock this draft out. You know, we're pretty much done with free agency because unless you got some money in the kitty over there, we're pretty much out. So. We're
give
shopping.
us Josh! Give us Josh!
We're shopping in the very, very low end of the pool right now, just trying to fill some holes. But our main focus, coming up now is going back to pro days, workouts, bringing. We got the 30 visits where we can bring the guys in this year, so. Looking forward to that process, but it's going to be all drafts are important. We know that, but this is going to be a really important one for us. Just where we are with the cap, we've got to hit on some of these low cost, guys.
What did you see at the combine or from these this draft class? Allegedly, quarterbacks doesn't matter for you guys, but it seems like everybody's fucking fast. It feels like there are so many fast guys. Do you think all these guys, just because how fast they are going to hit? Do you think there's a chance that you have to figure out who and how and what type of player you think fits in with that Bills team best?
Yeah, I mean it's amazing every year you go to the combine and punters are running fast, by the way.
Come on. We always have, by the way. We always, no, I'm joking.
You have your work cut out for you to beat some of these kids. But no doubt it's amazing the testing that some of these guys do. I mean, you really ultimately, you still got to go back to what do they look like on film. I mean, you do see some guys every year that they run 4.3 something, but when you see them on film, they're playing, closer to 4.5 than they are 4.3. But yeah, we would love to add speed. I talked about the Chiefs; they've done a great job of adding speed. There's some other teams, in our conference that we'll have to contend with as well. So speed, but ultimately we're looking for good football players, and I do think it's probably not as deep a draft at quarterback that you mentioned, but I do think across the board, both lines. I think you can find guys on offensive and defensive line. There's some linebackers. I think there's corners, safeties. The whole passing game with the 7-on-7 passing camps, you're seeing more and more receivers and more DBs every year just because of you go out to Pop Warner football and they're running the spread.
That's what I'm saying. They're doing this as kids in neighborhoods are running this thing. They got those weird helmets on. They're doing that entire thing.
Yeah. No, it's unnerving a little bit because we don't see linemen ever put their hand in the dirt anymore. That's the part I don't like in the trenches. But the skill positions, it's really helped. Even the running backs, some of these guys, you can, split them out and they can play a slot receiver for you.
I thought you guys were getting a new running back.
Sore subject. Thanks for reopening that.
Yeah. I know. I didn't mean to, but as soon as you said, right, I just couldn't help but.
I did it I gave you a softball. I deserve that.
Yeah. And by the way, you actually giving a human answer at a press conference also, sets that up. But business is fascinating in the NFL. And I think on this show, I try my best to explain to people yes, football, Pop Warner, high school, junior high, game. Pick up in the back game. But when you get to the NFL, it's a game, but it is a monster business. The way things are handled, who can fit in where, salary cap wise, who doesn't get along, who does get along. And sometimes the business, it felt like Randy Gregory was going back to Dallas. He's out. He's going to Denver. Then the next one was you. He was supposed to come up to you, and then he goes back to Washington. Then it just happened, I think, over the week. Zadarius Smith was supposed to go to the Ravens. I was going somewhere else. What do you think it is? Is it miscommunication, you think, or is it in the details? Why do you think this is happening? Do you see this being a trend, or do you hope not, obviously?
I hope it's not a trend. I mean, it happens every year. There's a guy or two, or this year maybe three. I've even actually heard it's not out there. There's another one. It was a smaller level deal that happened over the weekend. Another GM called me just to ask me kind of what had happened in our situation, and so it's frustrating. Unfortunately, it's an unwritten rule, and it is what it is. So there's nothing you can do about it. Ultimately, until somebody puts their name on the paper, and listen, if somebody doesn't want to be here, that's the best thing for them. You just you got to choose how you do business, Pat. And I choose how I do it. You choose how you do it, and everybody's got their own prerogative, I guess.
Yeah, I'm sure you'll forget about that too with that agent. I'm sure.
Yeah. It wasn't the agent. It wasn't. The agent did a great job. It was the other club. The agent did a great job.
I'm sure you'll forget about that. I'm sure that'll be something you won't remember. How old are you now, Beane?
Yeah. I'm 45. I get over that shit real quick.
Okay, last question for me before the boys have some for you. And we can't thank you enough for joining us, talking to Brandon Beane, general manager of the Buffalo Bills. I asked Tom Telesco this question because he's in the AFC West about preparing for your division. And there's that old story of Charlie Casserly at the Houston Texans getting fired because he drafted Mario Williams instead of Reggie Bush. And when he was asked why, he said, I'm trying to tackle Peyton Manning. Okay, I'm AFC South. I am trying to tackle Peyton Manning. You guys are now the guys of the AFC East. I mean, it's been a long time. The New England Patriots ran it. How do you keep an eye on what's going on around there? Because the Patriots, they don't have an offense coordinator or a defense coordinator. Bill Belichick's potentially run to all of them. Oh, yeah. Just found out this weekend that the fullback is no longer a position on the roster for the Patriots. How much do you have to kind of keep up with the rest of the AFC East, and how do you manage that versus building your team to be the best team?
Yeah, we always start there, Pat. We really do. We could win the division 5 years in a row. But that's the goal, because that's the entry ticket. It's like this NCAA tournament. You win the conference tournament, you're in. You win your division, you get at least one home game. So we pay close attention to the Jets, the Patriots, and the Dolphins, because we know if we want to get to where we want to get to ultimately, we gotta win that. And, if you don't, now you're playing to get in as a wild card, and you run into tiebreakers, and sometimes you get left out. So. We start there every year, and that'll be the message that Sean will preach to our guys, me as well, that we've got to win those 6 division games first. They count more than anything else, and after that, you're definitely looking at, and I mentioned the Chiefs have knocked us out. Obviously, that whole division is gotten quite interesting with Russell Wilson, to Denver, and you mentioned Telesco's done a great job with Khalil Mack and some of these other moves. I mean, you talked about Freeney and Mathis. He's going to have Bosa and Mack, and that's going to be tough.
Let's get Von Miller, please. Let's get Von Miller here.
Now.
Whenever you think like Mike McDaniel, new to the division, but he has a great run game, does that go into anything? Thinking like, all right, Miami's probably going to up the run game a little bit. With Bill, Mac Jones is a guy who's very accurate. What will he like? Is that something you're thinking about? Because they're all planning to beat you, right? Now that you're at the top, they're all trying to scheme on how to beat your team. That has to be a constant battle of like, can't overthink it, but also have to worry about it. There's a lot on your fucking table, dude. I don't know how you do it.
A couple beers every night. No, it's in all seriousness, it's you do. With Miami, new scheme. Obviously, it comes from Shanahan's system. So we'll as we depending on when we play them, we'll have to kind of figure. But every coach does their own nuances. But I'm sure that'll be the base of that system. Run first, that wide zone stuff. So we'll have to do that. The Jets, year 2 under Robert Saleh, they had some, unfortunate injuries in camp last year. I know they lost Carl Lawson, maybe a couple others that really impacted. And they had a rookie quarterback. He's going to be a lot better this year. And again, Mac Jones, I thought he had a heck of a rookie season. Oh, yeah. And year 2, he's going to be better. And I'm sure they're going to add more weapons around him between now and the draft. And Belichick's a master. I mean, he's probably the greatest of all time. And so that's always going to be a tough one, no matter what players, or coordinators, or whether he's coaching offense or defense, they're going to be a bitch to prepare for.
You ever do any business with Belichick or them, or never because it's in division?
Yeah, we traded him a center one year in camp. We actually did.
How'd it go? Yeah. How'd business go? Was it like kosher there? Was it all?
Yeah, Bill's great. He's always been super nice to me. When we haven't dealt that much, but he's always been super nice. Had couple phone conversations with him last year, and I think the world of him.
How about when he comes in and talks to Josh after the game? Is that something like there's not a lot of people that can do that, by the way. Bill Belichick is probably one of the only that could do that, especially with the division and everything. Him coming in there, though, and Josh being like, it was very nice, it was very cool of him. I assume you all view it that way. You obviously hate the Patriots because you have to beat them, but the guy's a fucking, I mean,
he's earned that right. I think that was pretty cool. I think Josh thought it was cool, and I was good with it. We got Josh under like an 8-year deal, so it's not like he could steal him away.
Imagine Bill coming in there with that silver tongue. Listen, we can make all these moves that we have to. Anyways, whenever you're ready to trade Josh Allen to Indy, we would definitely have that conversation. Talking to Brandon Beane. Go ahead, Ty.
Brandon, one of the first times you came on, you told us how when Stephon Diggs, you kind of were made aware that he was unhappy in Minnesota, and then that led to you guys, working out a deal and getting him. In a situation with like Devontae Adams, I think it was kind of surprising when he actually did go to the Raiders. Is that something you'll kick the tires on, like even though you guys might not have been able to afford him or whatever? And do you think more guys, like is this happening more often now where you're being made aware that like these marquee players aren't happy and they might be willing to go somewhere else?
Yeah, I mean, we try to, I have a group of pro scouts, and part of their job is to be the GM of certain teams. So if I have, they split them all up, and hey, you're responsible for these 5 teams, and you're supposed to read up on them every day, know everything that's going on. You're following them on social media, and to let me know, especially if it's a position of need that we're looking for. We think we could fit them in. They would fit our culture. All the things that are important here. That's part of their job is to let me know. So yeah, we have those conversations, whether it's Devontae Adams situation, Diggs a couple of years ago. There's many that most of those don't ever come to fruition. Either you're not going to be able to pay them, they're going to cost too much, or the team's asking for too much draft compensation or a skilled player. But we talk about them a lot. Rarely do they ever happen. Diggs just happened to be one that we were able to get to the finish line.
How are you at poker? You a pretty good poker player?
I love poker. I'd like to say I'm decent, but I don't get to play it much. This job gets in the way.
Well, it feels like you're kind of doing that all the time, right? Because you're bidding against nobody, right? Like a ghost almost sometimes whenever you're trying to make a trade, but you can't show your ass. You kind of have to do that. What traits do you think make a better GM in your experience thus far? Not that you're saying you're a finished product or a great GM, but what do you think has made you have success thus far in building the team that you have in Buffalo?
Yeah, I think just be a straight shooter, be authentic. If I'm calling you, you're the GM of another team, and I'm calling you, telling you I've got a second rounder, or I'm not cutting this guy no matter what, and then 2 days later I cut the guy, you're going to be the next time I call you, and that's happened. Like you said, you were never cutting this guy. I offered you a 5th, and you're like, no, I'm not doing it. And sometimes you'll say, well, aren't you guys going to cut him? No, I would never cut this guy. And then 2 days later, he's released, and you're like, all right. So I think just be real, be authentic. Or hey, I told you I had a 2nd round pick, and then again 2 or 3 days later, he's traded for a 5th round pick. It's like, dude, you know what I mean? You told me you had a 2nd, I backed out. Why'd you now trade him for a 5th? So I think just be real, be authentic, and don't play it up if you're not in. If you're really interested, put your cards on the table. If you're not, then kind of back off.
How about anything that gets made public? Because, for instance, Jimmy G is on the trade block allegedly. It's now being publicly reported that they have an offer of 2 second-rounders for Jimmy G. That sounds like a bunch of bullshit if that's getting made public. Am I wrong in thinking that or right in thinking that?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't know. We'll see. I mean, I would assume that they have that if they're making it public, but I guess we'll find out. When you'll know is when the trade's done.
Yeah. How do you know, like, if anybody's leaking any information to reporters? And when information is leaked to reporters, do you try to use that to your advantage? Do you have to pick through what's real and what isn't real coming from other teams? Because it feels like, we're in it now more than ever. And I don't think I truly understood the amount of insiders and narratives and who's connected to who. How do you manage all that, both from your side with leaks and also other sides that are coming out? Do you just pick through what's real and what isn't?
Yeah, you try and use your sources, whether it's media, whether it's contacts on those teams or people who are connected to those teams. You just try and dig in. It may be checking in with a scout or a coach that on that team, just filling out what are they hearing, or someone who's connected to that organization that would truly have the insight. And again, you may you may check some of your sources media-wise around the league to, hey, I've always seen you connected to Team X. What are you hearing about the situation? You try to just it's a puzzle, and you're just trying to make it. It's very blurry at first, and you're trying to crystallize it the best you can before you make an educated decision.
Well, then if you get screwed over, you're just, this guy's the idiot. This dude's an absolute idiot. But if it ends up working out, who gives a damn? Go ahead, Tone.
Brandon, first and foremost, thank you for letting the second best quarterback in the NFL out of your building and to the Pittsburgh Steelers. I appreciate that very much. Thank you. Last week, I obviously was tracking everything that Colbert was doing, and he was at like 3 or 4 pro days while the middle of free agency was going on. Like, how do you guys juggle going to these pro days and weigh how much those are worth versus tracking what's going on in free agency and stuff like that?
Yeah, I mean, if I'm going to be active, and we were fairly active last week, then I'm here. If it's at this point, I can get out to some pro days. As I said earlier, we're looking for spare change in the back of the couch right now. So I could do that remotely, whatever school or sometimes a private workout we may have here or there. So yeah, it's to me, if you're not going to do much business, once you kind of know those things are done, you can hit the pro days. It really is whatever GM, some GMs don't go to pro days. They're just like, I'm in the building, 365, whatever it is. I kind of try and mix it up in the fall, going to games. And then at this time, take care of, the first few days of free agency and then get out.
If you show up, though, it's a big deal. General manager Brandon Beane. You know what I mean? That's a real thing. They're reporting like at Kenny Pickett's, they're like Mike Tomlin and Matt Rule are the only 2 head coaches here. We see no general manager. Like as soon as you show up, it legitimizes that pro day. And you might be there, I'm here for the punter. I'm here. Like that isn't it. When you go to a pro day, though, it means there's something, right? That you're not just wasting your time going to any pro days.
No, not you. I like somebody there. Now, anytime there's a quarterback that's going to be a marquee player, they'll list, generally head coaches, GMs, or, a consensus top 5, top 10 pick. Hey, there's, 6 GMs here today at Alabama or wherever it is. You definitely get labeled in there. I've been to some where they don't, but for the most part, it's going to be out there that Bills GM, is here at whatever it is.
Yeah, because the school wants that out there too.
Yeah.
And every player does too. Oh, Brandon Beane's here. Brandon Beane's here. Like somebody. Actually, his sister lives in town. I never get that follow.
Stop by for 30 minutes to say hi.
Hey, yeah. Hey, actually, my old teammate is here. Anyways, but he was here, I guess. Last question. We can't thank you enough, man. You've killed for us every time you come on here. You were awesome. In the same way, you've been great as a GM. You're great on this show. Very transparent. We appreciate that. Now to New England Patriot fan, Boston Connor.
Yeah, as Pat just said, I'm a Patriots fan, Brandon. You said Bill Belichick is probably the greatest coach of all time. He is. And let's also say he's probably the greatest GM of all time. But now that we know that the salary cap is completely fake, when you see what the Rams did last year and they kind of said fuck dumb picks, essentially, does that change your philosophy at all? And during the season, could you see yourself kind of, instead of building through the draft next year or even this year, making a couple moves to get you over that hump?
Well, we're trying to make that now, and fortunately, we didn't have to trade any picks. So, as I said earlier, we still have some holes to fill, and we're going to have to develop. These signings. Even the cap is real in the sense that Von Miller's numbers counting a little over 5 on our cap this year. Well, we know what we're paying him, so it's going to build up over time. So, hopefully, we can land some draft picks that will fill those roles. So, it's still important for us to draft. So I don't, I think what the Rams did last year was they kind of gave Denver a pick for the player, and then they gave him a pick to eat $9 million. So they, he was basically playing on a minimum price for them. That's why they were able to fit it in their cap. Some teams do that, but to me, those draft picks are, not saying I wouldn't do it. It just, you'd have to really know that this guy's going to put you over the hump to do it. And it worked great for the Rams. You got to give him, Les Snead a lot of credit for that.
Yeah, they won a Super Bowl. I mean, that's all. You win a Super Bowl, nothing else matters, I think, in this particular business.
True.
But the culture and the patience that you guys have had, the fact that you went out and signed Von Miller to big money and O.J. Howard, I think that in of itself is an indication that you would be willing to go and get it if you have to at this point. Is that because you recognize the team you have and the opportunity you have? And also, our point of the salary cap being a bunch of bullshit. Is that how you view it as well? Knowing that you have to get to a number, you said you're going to have to pay him down the road, but this salary cap might be, hey, imagine if Apple gets in the game, Google gets in the game, Amazon's already in the game. I'm telling you from my perspective, I don't know if you know this, a lot of fucking money over here. These platforms and sports books, a lot of money. I think it's only going to go up. Do you know that? And do you have to act on that accordingly? Or do you try not to screw yourself down the road? How do you balance like what you need now versus, okay, this might bite us in 2-3 years?
Yeah, it's hard. I mean, you try and, as you restructure some of these deals, not put it all in 1 year. We try to put a little bit, next year if we're kicking it down, maybe a little bit in 24, a little bit in 25. So all of a sudden you don't walk into next free agency or 2 free agencies from now and you're $100 million over the cap, which can happen. We're trying to balance it, Pat, like keeping up with, what the new deals of the league are going to be. Where's that revenue going to go and what will that do to the cap? Right now, we're still kind of working our way back from COVID because even though it went up this year and it's at 208, it was supposed to be in the 220s, by now. So we're still behind, and I think that's why you got a lot of restructures that are still happening around the league. But hopefully, in 2 or 3 years, Google, Apple, all these things that you're talking about, hopefully they jump on board. And let's make this cap go way up so I can keep spending and buying the right things.
Brandon, I'd love to see what you would do with a $500 million cap. That would be an amazing thing. Can't wait to watch your team this fall. Can't wait to watch the moves you make during the draft season. And can't wait to see Bills Mafia all the way back. You're the man, dude. Thank you for your time.
Appreciate you. Thanks for having me on. Enjoyed it, guys.
Ladies and gentlemen, General Manager of the Buffalo Bills, Brandon Beane. He's awesome.
Yeah.